And we're on 23, but what verses we
Yeah,
are?
chapter 23, and
Oh, I guess he didn't say, did he?
Angel is in 8 and 9, so I guess we want to start a little farther up. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start in the first verse, give us a little context.
Okay. Let's give it out.
So Paul is, as it goes with Paul, he's in trouble with the Jews. And if you go back to the 28th verse in that 22nd chapter, this is just kind of interesting. And that Paul was, he was a free man. Brother Tommy always used to bring that up, that he was a free man. And,
Okay, I see that.
and yeah, and
Related, huh?
and the chief captain, the chief captain answered and said, with a great sum of money, or with a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, but I was freeborn. He didn't use the word free man there, but he did in another verse, might be over in Corinthians. And so I guess you could buy that Roman citizenship to be a free person. But Paul was born free because the city of Tarsus was the capital city of Cilicia, and it was a free city in the time of Augustus. And whosoever was born in that city was automatically a free citizen.
And that was part of Rome's. I mean, that was
That was
under
their
the
capital.
Roman Empire.
That
right?
was their capital city.
Yeah. Okay.
That was their capital city. So I thought that was interesting. So Paul was born there, and so in Tarsus. So he was automatically a Roman citizen,
Yeah.
even though he was Jewish. He obtained that freely. So that's why at times they couldn't beat him, because he was a free man.
Yeah.
He was a Roman citizen. And so,
Oh, that's what they do there. They leave.
yeah, so they stop. They have to stop. He declares his citizenship, and they have to actually stop because of that.
I think that's why when they took him prisoner, he was treated very well, and he was able to have people
Quite a bit of
come
freedom.
and- yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting as I turned back there. And then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid after they knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him, they shouldn't even have bound him.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the morrow, because he would have known the certainty wherewith he was accused of the Jews, he loosed him from his bands and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear, and brought Paul down and set him before them. So that's a game changer for Paul, as they're trying to accuse him of certain things, the Jews are. That's a game changer, the fact that he has this Roman citizenship. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. And the high priest, Ananias, commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Paul unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for smitest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? Now, to me, this is kind of interesting that Paul says, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. Mm-hmm. And yet Paul was out killing Christians but he did it ignorantly and in unbelief.
Yeah.
So he had a good conscience about that. He didn't have a guilty conscience in doing that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, he hadn't yet been given that conscience.
He hadn't. No.
So
It didn't mean it was okay,
right.
but his conscience wasn't condemning him for doing that.
The law had not yet been revived in him.
Right.
So yeah.
Does everybody see that?
Yeah, I see it, but I see what you're saying.
I mean, that's what I think that's what Paul's saying. That he's lived in all good conscience. He doesn't have it's not that he doesn't feel bad about it now, but he's lived in all good conscience.
Because I think you see that. I think you see that he had a shame about it.
I think so too.
But
But I think he can truthfully say that he's lived in all good conscience before God, even though before he was a murderer, and he hauled him to prison, and he compelled him to blaspheme God, and he did all these things, and he proclaimed that later, and I think he's ashamed of that now. And now that he has that conscience, he realizes now what he really was. But he can say that before he did that ignorantly and in unbelief. So he can say now, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day. And this high priest, Ananias, commanded them that stood by to smite him on the mouth. Now I think Ananias commanded him to be smitten on the mouth because of his belief in Christ.
Yeah. He believes he shouldn't have a good conscience
Right.
to God.
Toward God.
Yeah.
Because he believes in Jesus. And then Paul says, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall, for smitest thou, sittest thou, thank you, sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law. And they that stood by said, revilest thou God's high priest? Then said Paul, I wist not or knew not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. And that's a law, by the way. But when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees and the other part Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called in question. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. So he divided that group in half. So now he's just gotten the Pharisees on his side because he used the resurrection, the hope and the resurrection of the dead. He said, am I called in question? So he just used the resurrection to divide that group. Mm-hmm. And then he says, for the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. Now, why does he say there confess both? There seems to be three things there. The resurrection, angel, and spirit.
Well, I think he's clumping angel and
spirit together. That's what I kind of thought too. Those kind of angel and spirit kind of go together. And there arose a cry, And the scribes that were of the Pharisees' part arose and strove, saying, We find no evil in this man. Boy, that wasn't said very often, was it, about Paul? We find no evil in this man. That's all it took. But if a spirit or an angel has spoken to him, let us not fight against God. And he just got smitten by Ananias, or by his servant. I don't know if he was a scribe or a Pharisee, but he just got smitten by the high priest's servant, and then
You mean a Sadducee or a Pharisee? He
a
was a
Sadducee or
Pharisee, wasn't he?
a,
He was the high. Well, he was the high priest.
yeah, I don't know if he was of the Sadducees or the Pharisees, the high priest, which side he would have been on, but or how that works exactly, if the high priest can be on one side or another. But anyway, so he just got smitten, and now this one group's going with Paul, the Pharisees, and they say, We find no evil in this man, but if a spirit or an angel hath spoken to him, let us not fight against God. And when there arose a great dissension, the chief captain, fearing lest Paul should have been pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and take him by force from among them, and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord stood by him and said, Be of good cheer, Paul, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also at Rome.
Cheer up. We're going to send you somewhere worse.
Yeah. So the Sadducees didn't believe in angels at all, or spirit, or the resurrection.
It makes me think of the Church of Christ doesn't believe, or at least they didn't when Dad was one, didn't believe in the Holy Ghost.
Oh, they didn't? Huh.
They thought the Bible, anywhere where it said the Holy Spirit or Holy Ghost, they said that was the Bible.
Really? I'll be darned.
Yeah. But they did believe in the resurrection.
Yeah.
If you were good enough.
They're just hanging there, huh?
It stayed that way till the end.
So the next one over here is in 27, Acts 27:23.
What?
27:23.
23.
And we'll start in the 9th verse. And this is where Paul is actually going to Rome. And this is where he's getting on this ship, and it's going to go through this terrible storm. And I guess we'll start in the 9th verse. And Ian, do you want to start reading in the 9th?
Yeah.
Just read however far
No.
you want. Then.
Now, when much time was spent, and when sailing was now dangerous because the fast was now already past, Paul admonished them and said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and with much damage, not only of the lading and the ship, but also of our lives. Nevertheless, the centurion believed the master and the owner of the ship more than those things which were spoken by Paul. And because the haven was not commodious to winter in, the more part advised to depart thence also, if by any means they might attain to Phoenice, and there to winter, which is an haven of Crete, and lieth toward the southwest and northwest. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, losing thence, they sailed close by Crete. But not long after there arose against it a tempestuous wind called Euroclydon. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive. And running under a certain island which is called Clauda, we had much work to come by the boat, which when they had taken up, they used helps, undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksand, strake sail, and so were driven. And we, being exceedingly tossed with a tempest, the next day they lighted the ship. And the third day we cast out with our hands the tackling of the ship. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. But after a long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar. And lo, God hath given thee all that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God that it shall be even as it was told me.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to read this?
How far did you want it?
No, I guess that's okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I don't care to read. I just didn't know how
Yeah,
far
that's
you wanted
okay.
to read.
Well, we got to the angel part, I guess. I'm just gonna. That 10th verse there, he says, And Paul said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only of the lading of the ship, but also our lives. So Paul wasn't really right about that, which is good. But he felt like he perceived that they were all going to die in that, didn't he? Mm-hmm. But he wasn't really right about it.
Well, I think he perceived it was going to be that bad of a storm,
Yeah.
and it sounds like it was.
Yeah,
See,
but
I mean,
but not only the ship, but also their lives. He
Right.
felt like that they were all going to die in it. It was
Right.
going to be that bad of a storm.
right.
Yeah.
But then an angel told him that none of them would die.
Yeah. So as they got closer to that, I just thought it was interesting that he felt like they were going to die. He perceived that they were going to die, but his perception was wrong there. His impression was wrong of that. And we can also do that. We can also have an impression about something and feel like that's going to be it, but something's going to be a certain way, but then the Lord can later come to us and give us really what what the truth is going to be. And I don't know if the Lord is just having mercy or what, but
Well, he forgot that the Lord had already told him he was going to go to Rome
well, that's true. That's a good point.
and
Yeah.
preach
The
there.
Lord told him he was going to confess in Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He did, didn't he? Yeah. We just read that over there. He must bear witness of me in Rome as well. So, just like in Jerusalem. So after they,
Well, if the Lord will it, I will.
yeah, if the Lord will, yeah. There's another, that 13th verse too, that, and when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, loosed thence they sailed close by Crete. So the wind starts blowing softly, so they take off for their purpose, thinking that
Everything's fine.
everything's fine. But not long after, there arose against it a tempestuous wind called Euroclydon, however you pronounce that.
Euroclydon.
Or something.
And when the ship, when the ship could not bear up into the wind, they let her drive. The wind took over, and to me, that wind, that word that I can't pronounce means a storm from the east. Well, it's from God. That's exactly what that storm is. That storm is from God. God's guiding that ship. He's in control of that ship. Nobody on that ship is in control but God is. Because he wants that ship to go to a certain place.
Yeah, because they were just letting it
They let her drive.
let her drive.
Yep, they sure did. And so they were tossed with tempest, and finally they lightened the load, and they hadn't seen sun or stars in many days, and no small tempest lay on them, and in that verse 20, and all hope that they should be saved was taken away.
Yeah.
The Lord was just really painting them in a corner, that all hope for them to be saved was taken away, so that they would
it was
know.
him.
Yes, they would know that it was him. That's exactly right. And so after long abstinence, it was long abstinence from seeing the Lord. After long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, you should have hearkened unto me and not have loosened from Crete to have gained this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. So finally he realizes what's really going to happen. For there stood by me this night the angel of the Lord, whose I am, and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar. Now he probably remembered that, doesn't he? Again. And lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God that it shall be even as it was told me. Howbeit, we must be cast upon a certain island. So that's, the Lord wants him to be on this island,
Yeah.
and that island is the island of Melita. He wants him to go there first. And that's where that snake bit him. Remember, they all get on pieces of wood and sail to that, get on that island. They don't sail, they float, I guess, and it's raining, and they get out of the water, and they get to that island where these heathen men are there building a fire, and they gather wood, and Paul throws this wood on the fire, and that sea snake grabs him by the arm and bites him, and they think he should die right away, and he should have, but he doesn't. He shakes that thing off, and they watch, and he doesn't die. And first they think, well, since the sea didn't kill him, this God is gonna, this snake's gonna kill him, and so that's their imagination. And then since what they say,
Yeah, where was that at?
well, in the 28th chapter,
That'd be
It's just-
interesting to read that.
Yeah.
yeah, let's just go down there, that 28th chapter. And when we were escaped, then they knew that the island was called Melita, and the barbarous people showed us no little kindness. So they were very kind, in other words. And For they kindled a fire and received us every one because of the present rain and because of the cold. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, there came out a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom though he had escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffereth not to live." And he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. Howbeit, they looked when he should have swollen or fallen down dead suddenly. But after they had looked a great while, and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said he was a god. And so they went from one extreme to another. And that's just the imagination of man.
Yeah.
First he's a murderer, and then he's a god. Well, they got the first part right, closer than the other, him being a murderer, but yet God had forgiven him all that.
Yeah.
So the Lord wanted him to be on that island, so I can't remember what all happened after that, but anyway,
He healed them. He healed people.
Yeah.
he did.
He
Okay.
healed people.
They were there for 3 months.
They were. I'll be darned. Yeah. So the Lord had some things he wanted him to do right there on that island. And no doubt he preached the gospel to those people there. They received him. They had a lot of vain imaginations. And I'm sure Paul, there was a nice ripe place to preach at, you know. And he had their attention, I'm sure, especially after the way they came in on the shore like that in a storm. And so the next place is in 1 Corinthians 4:9. Gosh, let's see. I guess start at 7. Want to read them?
For who maketh thee to differ from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive? Now if thou didst receive it, why dost thou glory as if thou hadst not received it? Now ye are full, now ye are rich, ye have reigned as kings without us, and I would to God ye did reign, that we also might reign with you. For I think that God hath set forth us the apostles last, as it were appointed to death, for we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men.
Just read just a little farther, maybe.
We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. Even into this present hour we both hunger and thirst, and are naked, and are buffeted, and have no certain dwelling place. Keep going. How far down did I go?
Just a little bit more.
and labor working with our own hands. Being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it. Being defamed, we entreat. We are made as the filth of the world, and are the offscouring of all things unto this day.
Yeah, that's good. So he was made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men. The apostles were.
Would that be like what we read before where it said the angels desired to
Yeah.
look into
Look
those
into
things?
those things. Yeah. I looked up on that, into that. God hath set forth us, the apostles, last, as it were appointed unto death. And that's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's true or not. It seems like he's kind of making that reference about the Olympic Games, how that they used to, well, not, I don't know if it was the Olympic Games, but the gladiators and those kind of games. I don't know if that was the Olympics or not, but
No.
those people, they made those Christians spectacles in those games, and they did that for their entertainment, but they made them fight like criminals and beasts and things like that, to survive. And then if they survive like their first rounds in the beginning of the day, then at the end of the day they had to fight like, say they fought men at the first of the day, and then at the end of the day they had to fight like against like beasts, like lions and things like that, which just devoured them. And Paul was referring to that. And I think that God has set forth us, the apostles, last. That was the last show of the day,
Okay.
as it were appointed unto death. That those apostles knew that they were going to die, and that they were made a spectacle unto the world, and unto angels, and unto men. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of what I've read. Because, Peter knew that he was appointed to die.
Yeah.
They were appointed to die. Christ was appointed to die.
Yeah.
So I think they knew. I think they realized that. And you think the men that were the foundation of the gospel of Jesus Christ, they were the foundation of the gospel. That foundation still stands today.
Mm-hmm.
Those men had something that it'll stand forever until the end of time.
They really knew and felt honored, I think, to suffer as Christ did. So whatever Christ went through, they expected nothing else.
It's really quite something if you think about it. What they really did in following the Lord.
Yeah.
In the first generation of men that followed our Savior in such a way. It's really something. We really have it pretty easy. If we think about it. We really do.
And we find it so hard sometimes.
Yeah. And they were made a spectacle. Now that spectacle means a theater.
Okay.
It means a theater. It means a half.
Yeah, that's what I've got. Like an amphitheater.
It means it means a half round like an open sky, open to the sky amphitheater type building. Yeah, I've got that too. I didn't realize I had that reference. I looked it up.
Saw it when you said that.
Yeah. So I guess the angels were watching, and so I guess that would be on the same thing, and not just the good angels, but also the bad ones. It'd be both, wouldn't it? Right?
Yeah, I guess. it
I think
would.
Satan and his angels are certainly watching. Wonder why he put the world and to men. Wonder why that's. I guess that could be two separate things, couldn't it? The world and to men. Is the world just a general term? Well, men's kind of general too, isn't it? Spectacle unto the world and to angels and to men.
One could be the world and one could be in the church. Because he's talking to people in the church.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. World that could be outside the church, and men could be inside.
Yeah. Or vice versa. I don't know which world he's referring to there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's being really sarcastic in the 10th verse. We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised.
He's really giving it to him.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And then, but then he says down further that he's not doing it to shame them,
Mm-hmm.
but to warn them.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think of, I think it's the church at Ephesus, where they were rich. Was that the one? Or
Yeah.
Thought they were rich.
thought they were rich and had
Yeah.
need of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a Ephesus. Let's see. So the next one is 1 Corinthians 6:3.
I missed that one. I missed that one. I went on to. Oh yeah. I shouldn't have missed
I'm
that.
sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
6:3.
In 1 Corinthians.
Yes.
I was paying attention, just not to you.
Wow.
Sorry.
I guess we're always paying attention to something. aren't
Yeah.
we? 6:3.
I turned it up a notch, but then when it kicks off, it
Yeah,
just gets cold and
Well,
then
that's
it's
why
just
it gets
fast.
cold before it kicks on again. It's really odd.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, I just don't.
Either it's the furnace
That's
or we
okay.
don't have
though.
very
I
much.
came heard if I need to
Insulation.
put more on, that's okay.
Yeah.
You want to read, Sister Linda?
Yeah, I kid. You said 6:3.
Yeah, start in the first verse and then maybe down to down to 6.
From the first to the sixth, or through the sixth, or to the
Yeah.
sixth. Okay.
Yeah, through the 6.
Okay. Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust and not before the saints? Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? If then we have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church. I speak to your shame. It is so that there is not a wise man among you, no, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren. But brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbelievers.
So he's getting on to him again. Paul is, just like he did in the 4th and the 5th chapters. And the 2nd verse there, he says, do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world? Now I thought Jesus said, thou shalt not judge. But he says here, do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? What y'all think about that?
There's a scripture, I think, that says something about, but I know all things, or I judge all things. When he's talking about the world and spiritual things, both natural and spiritual.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Either the spiritual judgeth all things. It's 2:15. If that's the one you're talking about, that's what I thought of when you said that.
But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is, yeah, that's it. Because before that, it's talking about the natural man and the spiritual man.
The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they're spiritually discerned or judged, you might say.
Yeah.
But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. So I think that's what he's saying there. Do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? We can discern what's right or wrong
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
We're not that we're having a judgmental attitude toward people in the world, but you're able to judge or discern, have judgment,
Right.
a discernment of what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying. Know you not the saints, the church should be able to discern what's right and wrong in this world. And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matter? Because he's getting on to him. He says, dare any of you, first verse, dare any of you having a matter against another go to law before the unjust and not before the saints? He's getting on to them for taking their matters that are in the church. He's getting on to them for taking it to the courts,
Yeah.
the local court, instead of taking it before the saints. That's how much confidence that Paul has in the church, and how the Lord wants it to be dealt with, instead of taking it before your local court system, judicial system. He's saying you should take it before the saints. The saints have better judgment than the courts do.
Yeah. Because they're unbelievers.
Right. They're of the world.
It's
Worldly.
not spiritual.
Right. And then he makes that statement, do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? Now the saints are those in the church. And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that ye shall judge angels?
Now, would that be discerning the spirit of error from the spirit of truth? Is that what it's talking about? That kind of judging the angels?
I think it's spiritual judgment. If a message is true or not, if the messenger is is it true? Is the message true? Is it right? Is it teaching the truth? Is that,
That's what you're meaning by judging angels?
yeah, is it the true?
I thought it was speaking of Satan.
I
Well,
think
would-
that would be part of it.
it could
too,
be,
maybe.
definitely, yeah.
To
But like
discern if it is him or
John said over in what that was, it the 4th chapter, 1 John. Yeah, fourth chapter of 1 John. In the first verse, he says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they be of God." He says, "Because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. They are of the world, therefore speak they of the world, and the world heareth them." So I think what he's saying is that we should have a discernment of spirit, right? We should have a discernment to know, and the world's going to hear certain types of teachings, and
that's why he's the
Certain
prince
things.
of the power of the air. He's
yeah,
the prince of the world, so
yeah.
they hear that. Well, in one place it says that, I think it's Paul, that says that we know Satan's devices. So we're not supposed to be deceived by him because we
Right.
know him.
Yeah.
So that would be a discerning of him.
And so he says, "Know ye not that ye shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life?" So he's saying, if you can judge spiritual things, then how much more just natural things that pertain to this life? So that's why he's getting on to them about you know, if you can judge spiritual things, then how much more should you be able to judge between brethren and things pertaining to this life that are natural, just natural things.
We always seem to make the natural more powerful somehow.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's different, you know. When it should be the opposite. I mean,
And then Paul says after that, he says, so the 4th verse there, he says, "If then ye have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church." I never have quite got that. Why set the least esteemed in the church?
Well, they apparently are more worldly.
well, in some place he tells us to, I forget the word, but to esteem or those that are weaker.
Mm-hmm.
Or those that are, I can't remember the word he used, but I think perhaps he would feel like they would be more meek in spirit, maybe. Not.
Well, he says in the 5th verse, "I speak to your shame." So
Yeah. Or it could be the esteemed would have fans
That's what I would.
and take
that's,
sides.
That's
Right.
more like what I was
Right.
thinking. Like they would be less apt to be swayed one way or another by the parties
Yeah.
because they're least esteemed in the church. They don't have the fanfare maybe that some of the other ones do. Fanfare is not a great word to use, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Nobody likes them anyways. Let them do it.
Well, that's terrible. Nobody likes them anyways. Hey, brother so and so, we don't like him, but hey,
You go do
You
that.
go judge those
Right.
people.
they're least esteemed.
They already don't like you, so.
Yeah. What do you got to lose?
It's like Barbie and I used to blame stuff on Brian and Paul because they were in trouble all the time.
Anyway,
so-
right.
not-
Believe it then, wouldn't
It's not going to hurt them any.
Yeah.
No.
And then he says, I speak to your shame. Is it so that there is not a wise man among you? No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren. So he really lays it on them.
Yeah.
Is it so there's not a wise man among you? No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren, but brother goeth to law with brother, and that before the unbelievers. He really gives it to them.
Yeah. And he puts that in with in verse 9 he's talking about the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God
Mm-hmm.
and lists a whole bunch of things. So this
Yeah.
is one of those things. I mean, this is,
Yeah,
you know, in
Yeah.
that category.
it's unrighteousness.
Yeah.
He goes in down before you get there, Sister Donna. Then he goes into now. Therefore, there's utterly a fault among you because ye go to law one with another. Why do ye not rather take wrong? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded?
Yeah.
Nay, ye do wrong and defraud, and that your brethren. So I
I
guess
don't
he could.
understand it. I don't get that. I don't understand what he's saying.
Well,
Rather than letting one of your brethren do something wrong to you and take it meekly and keep your brother, rather they're going to law to take advantage of their brother instead to get the better of them. At least that's how I think it reads.
you gonna say something? Or maybe this is what you said, Sister Donna. Or if you were the brother being defrauded, why not just go ahead and let the brother defraud you?
That's what she's just
Is that what you
saying.
said?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was.
So he
kinda
does
like-
that to me all the time.
Okay,
It sounds better when he says
so
It does.
yeah, I mean he just turned it on Paul just turned it on the brother that was being defrauded,
Yeah.
even that was being robbed or cheated.
It's kind of like if someone asks for your coat or takes your coat, give them your cloak also.
Yeah,
It's kind of like that.
yeah.
They ask you to go a mile, go 2.
But you get down to the next verse. Who's unrighteous in that situation?
the defrauder.
Say right, the defrauder. So even if you gave him, let him rob you. Who's unrighteous in that situation? The defrauder. Right?
But by going to law, it makes both of
Right.
them unrighteous
Right.
rather than taking it to the church.
Right. But if you take it to the church, you can actually still be the righteous one, even though you've been defrauded. You could come before the church, and you can still be righteous in it, and take it to the church.
Because I think in verse 8, what he's saying is the one that has been defrauded is now becoming one that defrauds, if that's a word, by taking them to court.
Right, right,
So it ends up on both of them.
yeah. And then he goes into that, yeah. The unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom. I think that's hard for men to accept.
It is. It goes against our very nature.
How do you think, verse 5, he says, "Know not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren." Do you think, is that just how it's written, or do you think that's the men should do that as far as a church situation?
What do you mean, like the women aren't included in that? I mean,
As far as a judgment decision within the church, yeah. I was just wondering because the way it's worded, but he says his.
You're saying, does it really mean only men, or is it just a general?
Yeah. Yeah. I've thought that before. I've just wondered that before because he says his brethren.
Right.
I guess I still don't understand what you mean.
It's okay.
Because it says his brethren, he's saying,
very-
should only
yeah.
men be the ones to pass the judgment?
Oh, okay.
Men in the church.
Right.
Oh, in the
'Cause
church?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's very,
Oh,
it says
and
that,
so there's
it
otherwise
does say it
Man
specific.
among you, no, not that shall be able to judge between his brethren.
Is there not a wise man?
Well, I never thought
Right.
about it just being men, but I don't know. I'd have to do a little more.
I've wondered before. But I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I don't know
I think
for
it
sure.
sounds like a good job for you guys. I'm willing to vote that, yeah.
I guess it would depend on who is the least esteemed in the church.
Well, now there you go.
Yeah.
Because it also says
Interesting.
brother goes to law with brother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in our day and age, sisters can go to law against sisters too. Back then, they probably didn't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and does the word man mean male or does it mean
Right.
human?
Like
Right.
mankind.
Yeah.
Right.
And like I said, also, this is pretty old words too. Does it mean just, back then it was just probably men, but
Well, I would hope the Spirit would be in it,
yeah.
and then you would know how to do it.
Well, and just like the, 18th chapter of Matthew where, if your brother offend thee, well, it says brother, but I certainly feel like that's just as applicable for sisters. If your sister offend thee, go to her and her alone. I don't feel like that the women are excluded from that, even though the text says if thy brother offend thee, go to him and him alone, and if he hears thee, you've gained your brother. So I don't feel like that's just exclusive to brethren, to men, or so.
I can
Our
see.
church is made up of men and women.
Yeah.
So,
There is no male or
or
female,
female,
in the kingdom
right?
of
That's
heaven.
right. Yeah.
I saw this play out. It wasn't, they were in court, but when Penny and Ben went to that woman for
Oh, sure,
counseling
honey.
for their marriage. And I just saw exactly how it turned out too, with the world being the judge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can see how it turned out. And that was one thing I kept telling her, you need to go to Brother Jerry. Oh, we can't go to him with this. I'm like, you need to. That's who you ought to be getting counsel from. It's some elder in the church, not some worldly.
Yeah. Same difference, same thing.
Yeah, it is, because she was going to unbelievers to get advice about their marriage, and what they advised her was to do exactly what she's doing now.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know that that's the full reason for this, but it certainly is one of the results of it.
Okay, let's see what we got here. So 1 Corinthians 11:10 is the next one. You want to read, Sister Donna? I guess start in the first verse and then. Gosh, it's hard to know where to stop on this one. I guess stop in the 16th verse. If you get tired of reading, I'll finish it up.
Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head. For that is even all one as if she were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, forasmuch as he is the image and glory of God. But the woman is the glory of man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord. For as the woman is of the man, even so it is the man also by the woman, but all things of God. Judge in yourselves, is it comely that a woman pray unto God uncovered? Doth not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. But if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither the churches of God. That didn't clear all that up.
All right, Ian, what's all that mean?
Clear as mud.
Yeah. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels.
Yeah, I totally don't understand that. But I guess the idea is the man's head is not to be covered because his head is Christ. But the woman should be covered because her head is the man.
Yeah.
Whatever. And what I find funny is people did have long hair back then. Men did.
So what's that mean?
But it says it's a shame for a man to have long hair. So I don't know.
Right. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't.
Longer hair. They forgot the ER.
Yeah. Longer than the woman.
Yeah, longer hair. Yeah.
Even nature itself teach you that.
Yeah, I don't.
So I don't know what it means about the angel though.
I just always kind of thought it was just the teachings of God, I guess. For this cause, a woman ought to have power on her, covering on her head because of the doctrine of God, that she's in subjection. You know, the teaching,
Yeah.
the message of God, that she's in subjection to her husband.
Well, this, in my reference, it says that word power, that is a covering
Yeah,
in sign that she is under the power of her husband.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
But then it says right after that, nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord. For as the woman is of the man, even so the man also is by the woman.
Yeah.
But all things of God.
Well, the world don't like that stuff there.
How dare you?
Yeah. Well, they even say God is a woman, so.
So we don't understand what that is there in 10 about the angels, because of the angels.
Yeah, I felt like it's because of the teaching, the messages about the woman being in
Okay.
subjection.
Okay, so you think
To her
angels
husband.
there is
What God has,
message.
yeah, because of what God has proclaimed about women being in subjection. And
In this, in 13, it says, is it comely that a woman pray unto God uncovered? So is it really talking about a woman when she prays, that she don't have to be covered all the time, but just when she's praying? Like in service, you know.
don't you think then that the covering is really figurative of having that humble attitude, spirit?
I think so.
Is not a actual covering
Right.
on her head. And a man, it's the same way, that his outward uncovering is to show that he's in subjection to Christ, that Christ is his master and he's in subjection to Christ. And so it's a shame for him then to pray with his head to be covered, so that it's not shown that Christ is not apparent, that Christ is his head. And then it's the same way for the woman, that she's not showing that she's in subjection to her husband while she's praying. So it's really no difference. They're both showing a sense of subjection
To Christ.
to Christ,
Right.
to their master.
Right.
She's showing her subjection to her husband, but ultimately to Christ.
Right.
That's really what it is, and ultimately is to God.
Right.
So it's really no different. It's just this scripture is kind of complicated, really, as you read it, but it's really just teaching subjection is the way I look at it.
Well, he goes through all this, and I think he's really speaking in natural terms,
Yeah,
but the reason behind it is subjection.
yeah.
But then he gets through all that, and then he goes, but if you're contentious about it, we don't really have any customs about it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think
I thought he was saying, we don't do it another way in the churches of God. This is the only way we practice, with the men prophesying uncovered and the
Yeah.
women in subjection. That's the way of the churches of God.
Oh.
Yeah, I can
We
see
don't-
that too.
Not the literal covering, but that thought.
So he's not saying if someone is contentious about what he just said,
Then never mind.
then never mind.
Right.
He's
He's
saying
not-
the opposite of that.
Right.
If anyone,
That if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom,
Right.
neither the churches of God. Never thought of it that way before.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But he does say up there to come together and decide what's comely and what isn't comely. And I think because he was talking before about, or maybe it's after, about divisions. But anyway.
I don't know. What do you think, Dad? I think I've heard you say kind of different on that verse before.
Yeah, I do. I feel like that a man's supposed to have short hair and a woman should have longer hair. Not necessarily longer, but it's a glory to her to have longer hair and
You mean literally?
literally, and he's using a natural illustration.
Okay, well, you just lost us.
Sorry.
Just lost me. Sorry.
I think he's using a natural illustration that it, in general, doth it not nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it's a shame unto him? That I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it.
I don't know either.
I've got short hair.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Oh, I like her short hair.
Well, I think there is.
Nancy does
we
too.
can see today there's a lot of women that have very masculine looking hair on purpose.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Well, and that's just it. What's short and what's long? That's another thing.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean, I don't
you know,
think
That's
it's
why
so
I don't
much
think
the
I don't
objective.
see how it could be that.
because for the longest time my hair was, well, not when it was real long, but longer than it is now. And your dad said, well, Brother Jerry's hair is long, and I thought at that time my hair was short because I was used to real long hair. So I thought my hair was short, and when your dad said that, I didn't say anything. I thought, gosh, he thinks my hair's long, and my hair's like short right
To
now.
him, it was long.
But
I mean,
to
to
me-
your
Yeah.
dad, it
But
would be.
to your dad, it was long, but to me, it was short.
But your hair is shorter now.
But my
Oh,
hair's a lot
yeah.
shorter now.
And it looks nice.
So-
yeah, it is. I noticed that because I sat behind you.
But years before, when it was real long,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I had some comments made that my hair was real long, and just some comments
Well,
made.
none
and
of
I
it
wa-
really makes any difference.
Well, and I think that's what he's saying here in the 16th verse. Paul saying, but if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither in the churches of God. We don't have such customs in the churches of God about hair length.
Oh.
So, like, whenever before I even joined church, one of the young boys said to
I don't
me,
get it.
one of the young boys said to me that he said, he come up to me and said, my dad said if you was my son, I'd grab you and I'd cut all your hair off. And I said,
I'd get you a haircut.
I'd get
I don't
you a
think he
haircut. And I
grab
said,
you. I think
I said,
exaggerating there.
That's how it felt.
that's how it felt.
Yes.
And I said, well, I'm glad your dad isn't my dad. And he looked at me real funny. And so there was some contention. That's my point.
Yeah,
There was some contention.
yeah,
Now, he really wasn't going to do it that anyway.
right, but
There was some contention. So, but if any man seem to be contentious, Paul says, we have no such custom, neither in the churches of God. There's really no custom with hair length. Your hair is just fine, Sister Linda.
Okay, thank you.
Your hair is just beautiful. Just keep it the way it is. I'm keeping mine the way mine is. Everybody keep your hair the way it is. Don't cut it short and don't grow it long. Just however you want to do it.
yeah, I know.
There's if there's any contention, Paul's saying, we're under grace. He's not teaching hair length here.
Right.
He's teaching what's in the heart
Yeah,
about being in subjection to the Lord. That's really what he's teaching.
True.
What's in the heart and being in subjection to Christ. But he uses a natural example about, in general, women have longer hair than men.
Yeah.
And in general,
When I
men
think short,
have
I
shorter
think
hair.
when I think short, I think bald. That's what I think
Shaven.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talks
shaven.
about shaven.
I think of
Good
short hair
hair.
as bald.
And
Like
I do too.
And
like
maybe that's
men-
what he's thinking about,
men look
Paul.
more normal bald. They look
Yeah.
better than women. That's what I
That's
think
for
of.
sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And maybe that's what he's getting at. Yeah. Because he does mention that earlier when he says,
yeah.
but he's talking about women, but if it be a shame but if she wants to pray uncovered, then let her be shaven. Let her be like a man then. Shave her head off if she wants to be like a man, well, that's, some women do that. But
Some of them got men's
so
haircuts.
I don't know. He's got a lot of extremes in this
Yeah.
text here, but
But we don't wear a covering anymore either, so.
no. Yeah.
Now,
No
Zach
veils and
Guess,
coverings.
his wife Judy, at their church, Dad said that the women would come and put little hankies on their head when they came into church,
Is that right?
Really?
trying to
Trying to keep that.
To show this.
lawful.
Takes more than a hanky.
But yeah, but you could do that all day long and not be in subjection
Yeah,
to
and
the
they-
Lord
they
and
were-
just do it
They were very
outwardly.
self-righteous, so.
Yeah.
Evidently.
And they had little hankies to prove it. I think because right after that he goes into about being in divisions among you. So I think they were just arguing over what was right and what was wrong and
Yeah, that could be.
all that. But I know how you felt.
yeah.
Well, I don't know how you felt, but Brian, they used to make fun of Brian
Yeah,
and
I was
Paula.
getting ready to say
because
that.
of their hair.
Were you talking about?
Brother Roy Mung
Oh yeah, he's
called
good,
Brian a little girl or something like that.
And see that hurt them boys.
It
If I
did.
remember what
It
was said
did.
about it. That was a shame, but
Yeah,
Roy
it
was
was
kind
a
of like
shame.
that.
For anyone to say anything.
Yeah. Yep.
What about old Samson?
True.
Yep.
Remember?
There you go.
He had long
Well,
hair.
there you go.
Yeah,
And a
really.
Nazarite, not just
Yeah,
him,
the
but there was
Nazarites
more.
weren't-
There was a lot of Nazarites
were
that
never
had long
supposed to
hair,
Mhm.
and so that's a very good point, Ian. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
So why would the Lord command a man not to shave his head or to cut his hair at all? And what about what was his name, Rehoboam? He cut his hair once a year, and he weighed it. Remember,
Yeah.
David's son that
Kinda
got
remember
caught in
that.
the branches of the tree. That's how he got killed.
Right.
And he got slain while he was hung up in the branches of the tree by his hair.
Got stuck in
Oh,
the.
And he weighed that hair every year, and it weighed like 7 pounds or something like that. It was amazing how
He
much
must
his
have
hair
had
weighed
like
every year.
that.
Had an awful
Curly
mess of
stuff.
hair.
But the Nazarite,
Yeah.
he was
Well, I think too. Well, like I said before, there's women today that wear very masculine hairstyles, and they're making a point wearing it that way.
Yeah.
And there's women who are very feminine looking or want to grow their hairline. I mean, they do it out of pride and out of a point, and I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of what, you know.
It's more what's in the heart than
Yeah.
really the hair itself. It's it's just kind of a byproduct, I guess, of what's in
Yeah.
their heart.
The image they're trying to portray.
Yeah. That's tough scripture. Let's see what we got. 1 Corinthians 13:1, and if we're done there, if anybody has anything else. We're not all gonna go home and get haircuts tonight, are we?
I'm sure not.
I think you can tell your mom that she can keep her hair the way it is too. So, 'cause her
Okay.
hair's kind of short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
well, Ruthie
She's
does
good,
too. Ruth
yeah.
raised hers that way too. I don't know.
What was the saying? He's done quit preaching and gone to meddling.
Yeah.
Mm.
13:1, so we're all familiar with this passage. Though I speak with the tongue of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge and I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, and become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. What kind of tongues do angels speak with?
I guess that would just be messages from the Lord
Yeah.
preaching, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
And tongues of men would be different. That would be like just natural abilities of speaking, you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. Tinkling cymbal.
Noisy.
Noise, yeah.
Just noise, no meaning to it.
Now, would that be the sound to other men, or would that be how it sounds to God? Or both? Because I've known a lot of men who spoke without charity, and they were very much,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, Hitler's a good example.
Yeah. True. Yeah. I suppose it depends on the men. If they were spiritual men, I suppose it would sound like noise.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Mm-hmm.
If they were carnal men, then it could sound pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That third verse, he says, though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned. Did you see that where that guy caught himself on fire this week? He burned himself there at the Israeli U.S. Embassy. He was
Yeah,
a U.S.
I-
soldier.
I didn't see that.
Was it Air Force? He was an Air
Well,
Force
you know,
soldier.
I looked at that and I don't think I continued reading about it.
Yeah.
So I can't, I don't know.
Yeah, he was
I
at
did see that he set himself on
at the
fire.
U.S. Embassy, the Israeli Embassy in the United States in Washington. He doused himself with gasoline and lit himself on
How
fire
in the world?
In
in protest against the Israeli for the Palestinians.
Oh my
goodness.
God.
A burn is so,
He
it
burned
is so
himself.
painful and, oh my, I can't imagine.
And they talked to like a psychiatrist or psychologist or somebody on this radio show I listened to. And they said, well, this guy, he didn't really have emotional problems. He was just doing it for political reasons. And I totally disagree with
Oh,
that.
I do too.
That's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
I'm sorry, bud. You're wrong. You can't.
Well, even if it was a political reason, it was distorted.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I
Mentally,
mean.
yeah,
That's what I'm
yes,
saying. He said, no,
distorted.
this is just
No
purely
person
political.
sane
Why would you ever do that?
and mentally stable would set yourself on fire.
No, that's
I mean, that's not even what this is talking about.
Right.
This is
no. That just
other people burning them for their cause.
Right.
yeah. That
But-
just
You get just a little burn on your hand and look how
oh yeah.
painful that is.
Did
and
he
all the-
live?
Oh,
Or did he die?
Oh no, he
Crazy.
died.
He died.
Yeah, yeah. He died.
Best.
Yeah.
He died shortly after. Yeah. I just when we read that, that just came to my mind.
Did it
Sorry.
do any good?
Yeah,
Did
that's,
it accomplish anything?
yeah.
No,
That's
it,
why.
it'd stir everybody up for a while, and then that'd be that. But I don't think that's the kind of burn Paul has in mind
No,
there.
I
I
don't
think it's
either.
we could burn up all our time and energy, and you know,
True. I was
a
just
lot of
thinking
different
of
ways we could.
of the martyrs that
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, you're right.
we
It
could
be-
we could do all those things and not really even have charity in our heart, and it wouldn't profit anything really.
that phrase, the charity is the bond of perfectness. So
Yeah.
it was all these things are nothing unless they're bound
Yeah.
with charity.
Boy, that just shows you how powerful that charity is, that you could speak with the tongue of an angel, and if you didn't have charity in your heart, it wouldn't amount to a hill of beans. I don't know if that's the right wordage to use, a hill of beans, but it wouldn't profit you any. It'd be like noise.
It's interesting. He says it profit me nothing.
Yeah.
Because you think if you gave everything you had to the poor, that would profit them still.
And it
They
didn't.
would still get just as much as
Right.
whether you did, but
True.
he says it profit me nothing.
True.
Which is interesting.
It is.
'cause-
That's a
You
good
get no
point.
blessing from
Right.
that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's-
I'm amazed at, though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains. It's hard to imagine having that kind of faith and not having charity.
Yeah. Well, if you think about Jesus, he had all these things. He had the gift of prophecy and had understood all mysteries and knowledge and had all faith so he could remove mountains. But if he didn't have charity,
Yeah.
he would have been nothing.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been anything. And for us, especially
Yeah. It wouldn't
As
have
far as
profited us
redeeming-
anything.
as far as redeeming, doing what he was really sent to do,
Yeah.
he wouldn't have accomplished it with just having the other things besides charity.
I guess it just goes to show that we can't assume because someone has one of these gifts that they have charity. I mean, that their heart is right.
Yeah.
Including ourselves.
Mhm.
This charity is such a mystery. Because, I mean, people love people. I mean, we all love people. But it's not charity. Because it's generally self-based. It always has something to do with us, you know, what we're gonna get or what. I don't know. I just see that more and more in things.
That's kind of why.
Uncharity, you mean?
Huh?
Uncharitableness.
Yeah.
You see more and
Yeah.
more.
How we is in our nature, our love is so not charity, you know, it's self-serving, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in so many ways. I think even a parental love, you expect something, you know. Not that you don't still love them, but we expect something for our love that we give. We just do. I mean, it's just our nature.
Sometimes, but you just have a realization.
True. I mean, I'm not saying it's always that way. But
Yeah. But our flesh would.
yeah, that's what I
Would
mean.
from anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
Right,
just how we
right.
are by nature.
Right. I think sometimes it's done and not even. I think what happens is when the care and love overwhelm, then it's not even thought about, you know? I mean, I know Jill's husband, Kurt, he had a cousin of his passed away it was kind of just a really bad situation. And Kurt was very faithful as a friend and cousin, you know. He just, Jill would comment that he was there, just, almost every night and trying to go and help the wife and the family and continued on that. And I that's what I commented to Jill that, no greater love had a man that he
After
would
the
lay
hand
down
of
his life for his brother. Yeah, I mean, but Kurt didn't even see that he was doing that, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
all that he saw was,
He just wanted to.
yeah.
Like
He
we
had
should.
that
When
love.
did we do this
Right,
for you?
right.
Yeah,
But
because
if
he
you would have
wanted
said
to,
that
yeah.
to him, he would have, what do you mean? I mean,
Yeah.
he just was concentrating on trying to make this horrible time for this family that he
Yeah.
cared about,
And that's what
Less
charity to me is.
burdening.
It's when self
Right.
goes away.
Right,
It has nothing to do with you.
right.
It's all about
Someone else.
someone else.
So you can see those things,
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of examples of it. That was just one that
Yeah.
came to my mind.
Yeah.
That,
And I have too.
mm-hmm.
Once you're aware of it, it's easy to see the difference.
And in yourself, how the Lord blesses you in it,
Yeah. I'm always amazed when I feel true love towards someone. It'll take me. I'll feel, oh wow, that's not me. Just that feeling.
Well, I guess we ought to call it a night, guys. It's, 8:30.
Okay, it's a night.
It's
a night. We'll call it that. Did we finish First Corinthians?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so at least we
Started.
have a,
Started 2 Corinthians 11:14. Next.
so, other than the actual angel talking to Paul there when they were on the ship,
Uh-huh.
these scriptures with angel in it haven't really been talking about a certain angel. It's just been using it in the scripture to teach something.
More of a reference.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That's what I thought.
the
I
most
just
part.
wanted to make sure that I had not missed something
Yeah.
here.
Nope.
It's my Liberty. Guy came in today and he goes, Liberty Bibberty, and we go, it's not that Liberty.
That's insurance.
Yeah, it's not
Liberty,
that
Liberty.
Liberty.
And there's MU there.
Yeah,
that
that's the guy, that's not even
I
Liberty at
know. You should have
all.
told him that.
No, he goes, Liberty Bibberty, and we're like, no, it's not that Liberty. And he goes, oh, sorry.
That little baby